Thank you to all of you for being here to talk about this very important issue. From the state of Washington, and we recently began our own paid leave program. I know there was a question earlier about financing and discussion about financing falling short, and we checked in with our state officials. I had never heard that, and they confirm as well that that is not true. We have a new program that went in place at the beginning of the year. Under the Washington State program, private companies can offer their own paid leave benefit if it is as good or better than the state benefit. Ms. Chabot, when we look at the interaction of federal legislation and state legislation, do you think that's a good model to follow?
I think what's exciting is that the federal government, you all, have the opportunity to put in place a very robust federal baseline. I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that there are now, or will be by the time you pass a law, most likely, unless you do it very quickly, 8 states plus DC and maybe more that have laws in place, and we need to figure out how to sequence federal and state benefits so that workers in states with paid leave programs now are left better off and not worse off.
Thank you. Early states found that utilization among low-wage earners was extremely low when a single percentage was applied to the maximum benefit amount. So someone who earns at or just above minimum wage may not be able to take the benefit at 60% of their normal weekly pay. So for example, $50,000 a year in my district simply does not go as far as compared to other parts of the country. A partial replacement of $50,000 a year may not be workable for a family. So how should we account for cost of living differences when we are determining the percentage of wage replacement? Ms. Chabot.
That's a great question. I want to also just correct some misperceptions as to how the programs have played out with respect to utilization. So research that was recently done, analysis done by the National Partnership for Women and Families, showed that actually at the $50,000 wage level or less, if you look at the aggregate, utilization in California, New Jersey, and Rhode Island was about where it needed to be in terms of relationship between the workforce and utilization. Where they saw the drop-off was really among $25,000 or less, so the minimum wage folks that you're talking about. And the studies that have been done have shown that if you create progressive wage replacement rates, 80% or more for lower wage workers, they are going to be better able to take the program. If you put employment protections in place, the jobs will be safe, people will feel more comfortable. So these are some fixes that we can apply. In terms of how we make sure that a federal program addresses the needs of low-wage workers, I would really encourage the committee to look at what the most recent states have done. So the most recently passed 6 state laws, plus the enhancements in New Jersey, replace 80 to 100% of wages for low-wage workers. And in my testimony in the appendix, I detailed at each quartile of wages what a worker would receive. So you can see that between 80 and 100% of wages will be replaced in most states. For median wage workers, it's between 50 and 80%. I think we often get stuck talking a lot about the very top and the very bottom, and we also need to pay attention to the middle. Folks who are living paycheck to paycheck, who might be caring both for children and loved ones, who are moderate income, who would be really harmed under some of the other proposals like the Social Security cut proposal, but who would see a substantial benefit under the Family Act. And we always have to answer the question about what are families giving up now versus the small, predictable payroll deduction that they would be paying. And the last point is people are willing to pay. So public opinion polling, multiple public opinion polls, have shown that 70% or more of workers are willing to pay 1% of their wages or higher, which is far more than a federal program is estimated to cost by the Social Security actuary and by most cost models that have been done on state programs.
Oh, thank you. Ms. Hamilton, as a business owner, I know how important your workforce is. I used to be CEO of a small company, and benefits were a key part of making sure we had a great workforce. That was our competitive advantage. So I wondered if you can talk a little bit about how paid leave benefits your ability to recruit and retain employees.
Sure. Well, over the past couple of years, I've been part of a number of workforce development forums throughout the state of New Hampshire. And in New Hampshire, we're really, in general, businesses have been struggling to find talented workforce. We have a high attrition rate of young professionals. We have over 60% of post-high school are leaving the state, and over 50% post-college are leaving the state. And what I found was really striking in those forums is that many of the businesses were having trouble finding the talented workforce, and Badger does not. We, every time we put out a job offering, we find many, many talented potential employees that we're able to choose from. We have employees that stay for an average of 7 years, many of them over 10 years. And so we're really finding that while it is an issue in our state, it's not an issue for us, and we believe that a big part of it is the benefits we're offering, and in particular, paid family leave.
Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.